Hey guys, this is Alex Owari from ONG Tax and Accounting Services. So in this video, we're going to talk about the most common tax compliance checklist for foreign-owned single-member LLCs. And in this case, we're going to focus more on foreign-owned single-member LLCs that is formed in Delaware. So our focus is going to be on Delaware because Delaware, undisputably, is one of the most popular states to form an LLC in there. It has a lot of companies formed there. Okay, so we're going to focus on Delaware. Once we are done with Delaware, in the other series, we will move on to Wyoming, New Mexico, Nevada, New York. We'll also look at Texas and California. But for the purpose of this video, we're focusing on Delaware and the compliance issues that foreign owners need to be aware of. I work with so many LLCs and I get asked a lot of questions about what are the most common compliance checklists that foreign owners of single-member LLCs need to be aware of. I get asked about what forms do they need to file and what is going to be the due dates. So this video is going to try to help you a little bit to understand your tax filing requirement or your checklist you need to follow if you have a foreign-owned single-member LLC. So I'll start with the first item that I think it's very important for every foreign owner of a single-member LLC is the fact that they need to file a Proforma 1120 and a 5472. It's an information return that you would use to report any reportable transactions between the LLC and any related party, 25% or more shareholder or any related party to the LLC. Now, failure to file it comes with a $25,000 penalty, so it's not something that you need to joke with. I will explain more about the 1120 and the 5472. Now, number two, you need to make sure that you are actually filing the proper forms to keep your LLC active. Okay, some states requires annual report, biannual report, or franchise tax. In Delaware specifically, they require you to pay the LLC tax or the LLC franchise tax, and it's usually like $300. Delaware does not have an annual report. Other states may have annual report, but in Delaware, you just pay. So in the end of this video or towards the course of this video, I'm going to show you where you go to file those forms and how you pay. Number three is to make sure that you are actually keeping your LLC active by paying your registered agent. Because you're not residing here in the US, you're not physically located here in the US, you always need a registered agent who's going to be kind of the person that gets served with any legal document or stuff like that. So if you have to make sure that you are up to date with your registered agent services and their payment, because sometimes or in most cases, if you don't pay them, they can resign and they can cause your LLC to be dissolved or to be inactive. So it's always important that you're paying them. So these are the three most important checklists that you need to be aware of. The other stuff that I will talk about is assuming you are engaged in U.S. trade or business, then you need to file a 1040-NR if the LLC is owned by an individual. If the LLC is owned by a foreign corporation and the LLC is considered to be engaged in U.S. trade or business, then that foreign corporation files 1120-F. Other issues that also comes into play is for those of you that registered for sales tax accounts and also maintain product or inventories in certain states, there may be a tax filing requirement. Or for those of you that provide services to some clients in certain states, there may be some tax filing requirement. But those are the extreme cases. But in most cases, the clients that I have seen so far only have the first three checklists that I have mentioned, which is the Proforma 1120, making sure that they are paying their franchise tax or annual tax, annual report or biannual report, and also paying the registered agent on time. Now let's look at the first item we mentioned, which is the Proforma 1120 and the 5472. A foreign-owned U.S. single-member LLC must file this form if it has a reportable transaction. So a reportable transaction could be a contribution or distribution, or sometimes we call it capital contribution or draw. There is definition of reportable transaction is very broad, so you always need to consult a competent tax professional to help you understand what really entails reportable transaction. Now, the form cannot be filed online. So if you want to file it on your own, you can download the form from the IRS website, read the instructions, complete it, mail or fax it to the IRS. Alternatively, and this is the most important option that you have, it is highly recommended that you hire a competent tax professional to assist you with the process if you're unable to do it on your own. Because as you can see from the next point here, the failure to file, late filing or incorrect filing may result in a penalty of $25,000. So looking at how huge this penalty is, it is highly advisable that you retain a professional to help you do that. Now, the form is due on or before April 15 each year. So it doesn't matter when you're listening to me. If you're listening to me today or in the future, 5 years from now, the form is usually due April 15 each year. So if you formed it last year, it's going to be due this year. If April 15 falls on a Saturday, Sunday, or legal holiday, then the next business day becomes the due date. So one example I can give you as far as the due dates are concerned. Let's say you form your LLC in Delaware on June 18, 2021. Your Proforma 1120 and 5472 will be due on or before April 15 the following year. So it's going to be April 15, 2022. But look at what happened here. Because April 15, 2022 is a holiday, the actual due date is April 18, 2022. So April 18 is the date that the Proforma 1120 and the 5472 will be due. Now, in the subsequent year, you still have to maintain the same date, which is April 15, 2023, April 15, 2024, unless those dates also falls into a holiday or a weekend. So, and so on and so forth. So this is an example that you can use to plan on how to file these forms and when these forms are due. Now, another issue that is out of scope for this video is for those that are engaged in US trade or business. Now, I'm going to have to address this a little bit because it creates confusion. If you are engaged in US trade or business, then you will need to file a 1040 NR. In this case, if you have a single member LLC that is owned by an individual, that individual is going to use 1040 NR to report the LLC's income and expenses on that form. To file these forms, you must have an ITIN in order to file a 1040 NR. If not, you should apply for the ITIN at the same time as you're filing the 1040 NR. There are certified acceptance agents like us who can help you obtain an ITIN, or you could read the instructions, get a W-7, read the instructions, get to know about what documents you need to attach, and you can do it on your own to the IRS. But in most cases, it's advisable that you use a certified acceptance agent to help you apply for the ITIN and also file the 1040 NR. Now, 1040 NR has two important due dates. One of the due dates, which is April 15, is when you as a non-resident has received wages that is subject to US tax withholding. Okay, so if you are here and you're working and you're non-resident, then your taxes will be due on April 15. If you're not here in the US or you did not receive any wages as an employee that is subject to US income tax, then your due date will be June 15, 2022. So for most foreign persons that I deal with, their due date is June 15 because they are not here, they are not present here, they sit in their home country to do all the work. And most of them don't even have to file these forms, okay, unless they want to file a protective return. If they want to file a protective return, then we could use the June 15, 2022 as the deadline and file for them. However, they could also get an extension. You can get a 6-month extension if you file the extension on or before the due date. The same thing applies to the LLC, Proforma 1120 and 5472. You could also get an extension, 6-month extension. So instead of April 18, you could get a 6-month extension to file on October 15, 2022. So whenever you get an extension, it gives you 6 months to do that. Let's still stay on topic here on the 1040 NR. Now, you know about the two important due dates, which is the April 15, 2022 and then June 15. You can also get an extension, 6-month extension in both of these cases. And as I have stated earlier, if the due date mentioned above falls on a Saturday, Sunday, or legal holiday, then the next business day becomes the due date. So like I have stated before, for tax year 2022, because April 15 falls on a holiday, we've moved it to April 18. But June 15, for those of you who are outside of the US, I don't think it falls on a holiday. So you will still stick with the June 15, 2022 date. Now, one thing that I will also say is, and I'm going to stress on it, that not everybody that owns a US single member LLC is considered to be engaged in US trade or business. You always need to talk to an accountant or a CPA or an attorney to explain what you're doing, and let that person determine whether you're engaged in US trade or business. If you're engaged in US trade or business, then you file this 1040 NR. If you're not, then this 1040 NR and the ITIN is not required. Alright, so the same trade or business concept, engaging in US trade or business concept, also applies to 1120F. So if the single member LLC is owned by a foreign corporation, the income and the expenses of the single member LLC will pass through to the foreign corporation, and the foreign corporation will report it on 1120F. So because the LLC will be disregarded, we will look at the foreign corporation. Once again, you only need to file these forms if you're considered to be engaged in US trade or business. If you're not engaged in US trade or business, you don't have to file these forms. You could also file a protective return in all cases, to protect yourself. If you feel like you're getting too many different advisors and you're not really sure what you're doing, then you file a protective return to protect yourself. I will deal with protective return sometime in the future and what it is all about. But for now, if you're really sure that you're not engaged in US trade or business, then this form is not required. But if you are, then stick around and let's talk more about the due date. The foreign corporation must have an EIN. So if you don't have an EIN and you're filing this form, it will be rejected. And you can easily call the IRS International line to get an EIN for your foreign corporation. The due date for foreign corporation also comes in two parts. So for a foreign corporation that maintains an office or a place of business in the US, they have a due date of April 15, 2022 or April 15 each year. So anytime you're watching me, could be watching this video 10 years into the future, you use April 15. Unless April 15 falls on a holiday, then you use the next business day. A foreign corporation that does not maintain an office in the United States must generally file 1120F by June 15. So June 15 each year. Now, there's also an opportunity for a 6-month extension if you're not ready to file these forms here. That 6-month extension, to file that extension and for that extension to be valid, it needs to be filed on or before the due date mentioned in here. Now, it stays the same logic here. If it falls on Saturday, Sunday, or legal holiday, then the next business day becomes the due date. Okay, so now let's talk about the Delaware compliance issues. So if you form your company in Delaware, what do you need to do? What are the important dates that you need to stick with? Now, a Delaware single member LLC or a Delaware LLC in general is not required to file an annual report with the state of Delaware or the Secretary of State. However, the state of Delaware imposes $300 annual tax on all Delaware LLC, and failure to pay that required annual taxes results in a penalty of $200 plus 1.5% interest per month on tax and the penalty. So if you do not pay the $300 on time, you get slapped with another penalty of $200 plus the interest that accrues with it. An LLC formed in Delaware must pay the annual franchise tax by using the online portal at the Delaware Division Corporation. So I'll show you. I'll click on here and show you what that website looks like and how you go in to make your payment. The taxes for the prior year. So let's say, and I'll give you an example. The taxes for the prior year is due on or before June 1 or June 1st. So for example, if you registered your LLC on May 15, 2021, your annual tax is due on or before June 1, 2022, 2023, same month and day, June 1, 2024, and so on. So you just have to use that logic going forward. What I would do is, I'll tell most people to do is just set up a calendar for yourself or set up an appointment for yourself, and when that date comes, you kind of consult with your registered agent or a CPA or a tax attorney to help you renew, pay it. You could also pay it on your own, right? And I'll show you how you can do that. All right, so this is the Delaware website. This is the Division of Corporation website. This is where you go. So take note of the web address here, or you could just type it into your browser and then you can be able to get to it. Now, this is where you go, right? Once you're here, this is where you pay your taxes. So you click on it and then it's going to ask you for your business entity file number. This usually comes on your article of organization, the document that the state sends to you once you form the company. So there's a 7 business digit number that you find and you put it in here, and then you do all that's required here and you type it in and then you continue. So you're going to continue from there and then you pay your taxes. So for Delaware, this is what you need to do, and you need to do it on or before June 1. Otherwise, you're going to get a penalty of $200 plus interest. Alright, so for those who formed your LLCs in Delaware, I hope that this video helps you out. I hope that you're able to keep track of these dates. And then also, in all cases, I would advise that you consult with a competent professional, because the checklist that I've given you is the most simple form for the most simple businesses that is being organized here, where in most cases the owners are not engaged in U.S. trade or business, and then also they don't have any kind of sales tax liability, or they don't have any kind of state income tax nexus and all of that. Now, if you fall into those situations, you need some proper consultation on whether you need to file anything at the state level. But in most cases, the 3 checklists that I listed earlier is what you need to be very mindful of. File your 1120 and the 5472. Make sure you're filing your annual report or biannual report of franchise tax, and then also make sure that you're paying your registered agent on time. You're always renewing the services, and to keep your LLCs active. So I hope this helps you out, and if you have any questions, feel free to use the link below, schedule an appointment with me, and then we can talk. I hope that your business flourish as you continue to use one of the most powerful countries in the world to do business. And I hope to talk to you soon. Bye.